Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the UES Dauntless, watching the unfamiliar star system spread out before her through the reinforced view screen. The patrol route along the edge of human space was usually quiet, but something about today felt different. The stars seemed sharper, the void deeper. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings," Lieutenant Rivera called from his sensor station. His modified eyes, adapted for detecting radiation patterns, narrowed as he studied the readouts. "It's like nothing in our database." Sarah straightened, her muscles tensed from years of operating in Earth's heavy gravity. Location: about 2 light minutes out, near the system's second gas giant. The signatures, fluctuating. "Wait." Rivera's enhanced eyes widened. Energy spike. Weapons fire detected. The bridge crew snapped to attention. They'd all been trained for first contact scenarios, but not like this. Through the view screen, brief flashes of light punctuated the darkness near the gas giant. "Multiple vessels detected," Rivera continued. "One appears to be heavily damaged. The others, they're using some kind of plasma-based weapons I've never seen before." Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. They were witnessing either a civil conflict or an attack on an unknown species. Either way, lives were at stake. The safe choice would be to observe and report back to command. That's what the protocol suggested. But Sarah hadn't survived 15 years of deep space exploration by always playing it safe. "Engineering, what's our status?" she called. Chief Engineer Maya Patel's voice came through clear and confident. "All systems optimal, Captain. The reinforced hull upgrades we installed after the Titan incident are holding perfectly." "Good." Tactical analysis of the hostile vessels. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's fingers flew across his console. 3 attackers. Energy signatures suggest advanced tech. But their shield configuration has gaps, similar to the weak points we learned to exploit during the Jupiter revolt. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes the harshest lessons made the best teachers. "Plot an intercept course. Rivera, send first contact package Alpha on all frequencies. Let's let them know humanity's arrived." The Dauntless surged forward, its engines pushing against the fabric of space. As they drew closer, the scene became clearer. The damaged vessel was unlike anything they'd seen before. Its hull seemed to be made of crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. The attacking ships were darker, more angular, their weapons leaving trails of superheated plasma in the void. "No response to our transmissions," Rivera reported. "The damaged vessel's systems appear to be failing. Their life support." He paused, double-checking his readings. "Captain, their environmental requirements are incredible. They need pressures that would crush most species." Sarah's eyes narrowed. What would have seemed an insurmountable problem to most spacefaring races was just another Tuesday for humans who'd grown up on a world that constantly tried to kill them. "Maya, can we extend our pressure shields around their vessel?" "Already modifying the emitters, Captain," Maya replied, the pride clear in her voice. "We've been handling deep-sea pressures since before we reached the stars. This isn't so different." The attacking vessels finally seemed to notice the Dauntless's approach. They adjusted their formation, energy readings suggesting they were charging weapons. "They're targeting us," Jackson reported calmly. "Their weapons are powerful, but the firing patterns are predictable. Like they've never had to fight an opponent who could survive their first salvo." "Send them a final warning," Sarah ordered. "Then show them why humans are called Deathworlders." The Dauntless dove into the fray, its reinforced hull shrugging off hits that would have vaporized lighter vessels. The crew moved with practiced precision, their bodies adapted to stresses that would incapacitate most species. Every disadvantage of evolving on Earth had become an advantage in space. "Targeting their shield gaps," Jackson announced. "Our kinetic weapons should disrupt their plasma containment systems." The Dauntless's railguns spoke, launching projectiles at velocities that would have made Earth's ancient naval officers weep with joy. The attacking vessels, unused to dealing with physical projectiles, found their elegant energy shields useless against humanity's primitive weapons. Direct hits, Jackson called out. Their shields are failing. Sarah leaned forward. Send them one last message. Retreat or learn firsthand why Earth is classified as a death world. The attacking vessels, their shields damaged, and their assumptions about combat shattered, finally seemed to grasp the situation. Their formation broke, engines flaring as they fled into the darkness. The crystalline vessel's core is destabilizing, Rivera reported urgently. Whatever those weapons did to them, it's cascading through their systems. Maya, extend the pressure shield now. Medical, prepare for extreme environment casualties. Let's show them what humanity does best, surviving the impossible and helping others do the same. As the Dauntless moved to rescue the damaged alien vessel, Sarah reflected that this wasn't how she'd expected first contact to go, but perhaps it was fitting. Humanity had learned its greatest lessons from adversity, and now they could put those lessons to use helping others. The real challenge was just beginning. The medical bay of the UES Dauntless hummed with activity as Dr. Elena Santos worked to stabilize their unusual patients. The crystalline aliens, who called themselves the Luminary, floated in specially pressurized chambers that Maya's engineering team had improvised from deep-sea research equipment. Their biological structure is fascinating, Elena reported to Captain Chen, her augmented eyes analyzing data streams from the medical sensors. They evolved in an environment that would crush most species to atoms, yet they're incredibly delicate within their preferred conditions. The largest of the Luminary, whose crystalline form shimmered with patterns of blue and gold, communicated through a hastily modified translator. We are grateful for your intervention, though we still struggle to understand how your species survives in such minimal pressure. Sarah smiled. Just as we're amazed you can thrive in conditions we consider extreme. I'm Captain Sarah Chen. Would you share with us what brought you to this situation? The Luminary's light patterns shifted to deeper blues. I am First Resonance, lead researcher of our expedition. We were studying the ancient ruins in this system when the Dark Swarm found us. The aliens' crystalline surface rippled with what the humans interpreted as distress. They are a species that feeds on energy itself. Our civilization's photonic technology draws them like insects to flame. The vessels that attacked you, Lieutenant Rivera interjected from his position near the door. They seemed to be using some form of plasma-based weapons. Stolen technology, First Resonance's patterns turned sharp and angular. The Dark Swarm assimilate the technological achievements of species they destroy. They've already consumed 3 civilizations in our sector. And now, the aliens' light dimmed dramatically. They've discovered the location of our homeworld. Dr. Santos' instruments registered a spike in the Luminary's internal energy patterns. Try to stay calm, she advised. Your crystal matrix is still stabilizing from the attack. How can we remain calm? Another Luminary, introducing itself as Deep Harmony, pulsed with agitation. Our world has no defenses against their level of technology. Our people evolved to create and study, not to wage war. The pressure barriers that protect our cities from the lighter gases of the upper atmosphere are useless against their weapons. Sarah exchanged looks with her senior staff. They gathered in the medical bay to hear the Luminary's story, and each had the same thought. They couldn't stand by while another civilization faced extinction. Tell us about your homeworld, Sarah requested. The more we understand, the better we can help. First Resonance's lights pulsed with surprise. You would help us? After barely knowing us. Maya Patel, who joined them after finishing the pressure chamber modifications, stepped forward. We humans have a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Besides, we've spent our entire history fighting against harsh conditions. It's practically our specialty. The Luminary shared complex patterns of light among themselves before First Resonance continued. Our world, Crystallos, orbits a binary star system. The surface pressure is 30,000 times what you experience here. Our cities are built within the crystalline layers of the planet's crust, where the pressure and heat create perfect conditions for our kind. Lieutenant Commander Jackson whistled softly. Those are some serious environmental challenges, but nothing we haven't dealt with in some form. Our deep-sea mining operations work under similar pressures. The Dark Swarm. First Resonance continued. They've found a way to destabilize the crystal layers. Their weapons create resonance cascades that could shatter our entire civilization. The alien's form dimmed again. We estimate we have the basic principles are similar to what we use in the methane lakes on Titan. Maya replied, already running calculations on her tablet. Give me 48 hours and a direct feed to Engineering Corps Command. We'll need every trick we learned from the Mariana City project. Our best warriors, our strongest ships, all failed against them. Deep Harmony pulsed with confusion. How can you be so confident? Dr. Santos smiled as she adjusted the pressure chamber settings. Because we evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Earth has higher gravity than most habitable worlds, extreme temperature variations, atmospheric pressure changes that would incapacitate most species, and natural disasters that reshape continents. Every challenge made us stronger, forced us to adapt and overcome. More than that, Sarah added, Earth taught us that survival often depends on helping each other. We learned early that we're strongest when we work together. She turned to her crew. Maya, start those modifications. Elena, I want everything you can learn about luminary biology. Rivera, Jackson, analyze every scrap of data we have on the Dark Swarm's weapons and tactics. First Resonance's crystalline form shimmered with what the humans' translators interpreted as hope. Your species, you truly believe you can stand against them. In conditions that would crush your ships and bodies to atoms. Sarah's smile held the confidence of someone whose ancestors had survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and their own nuclear mistakes. The Dark Swarm think they're unstoppable because they've never faced a species that evolved on a death world. Time to show them why that was a mistake. As her crew dispersed to their tasks, Sarah reflected that this was what humanity did best, taking the harsh lessons of their evolution and using them to protect others. The Dark Swarm were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy were the ones who'd learned to thrive in conditions that should have killed them. The Strategic Command Center aboard the UES Dauntless buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed the crystalline layers of Crystallos. Captain Chen stood at the center, surrounded by her crew and their luminary guests, studying the complex network of cities built within the planet's crust. The Dark Swarm's primary advantage is their ability to create resonance cascades, Lieutenant Rivera explained, his modified eyes tracking energy patterns in the simulation. They've turned a basic principle of physics into a planet-killing weapon. Maya Patel manipulated the hologram, highlighting the crystalline structures. But that's also their weakness. They're so focused on disrupting advanced technology, they've overlooked something basic. She grinned. Something Earth taught us a long time ago. First Resonance's crystalline form pulsed with curiosity. What do you mean? Simple physics, Maya replied. Every resonance frequency has a counter-frequency. We learned this fighting earthquakes, stabilizing volcanic regions, even preventing sun emissions. The principle doesn't change just because we're dealing with crystal structures instead of tectonic plates. Lieutenant Commander Jackson brought up tactical displays showing the modified pressure suits his team had been developing. The real challenge isn't the theory. It's getting close enough to deploy the counter-resonance devices. We'll need to operate in pressures that would turn most ships into tin cans. That's where this comes in, Dr. Santos added, pulling up schematics for what looked like a crystalline mesh. We've been studying luminary biology. Their crystal matrices don't just resist the pressure, they use it. We've incorporated similar principles into our suit designs. First Resonance and Deep Harmony exchanged patterns of light that the translators interpreted as amazement. You've adapted our biological principles for your technology. In mere days. Sarah smiled. Adaptation is what humans do best. Every environmental challenge Earth threw at us made us more innovative. She turned to Maya. How are we looking on the counter-resonance devices? We're calling them harmonic stabilizers, Maya replied, bringing up new schematics. Based on the technology we developed for deep-sea fault lines, each one generates a field that neutralizes the dark swarm's resonance weapons. The trick is placing them in a network around the primary crystal layers. Our ships cannot withstand those depths. Deep harmony pulsed with concern. The pressure would destroy them before they reached the deployment zones. Your ships weren't built by people who grew up diving in ocean trenches, Jackson said with pride. The Dauntless's hull is reinforced with metamaterials developed for exploring Europa's subsurface ocean. We can handle it. Rivera highlighted several points in the holographic display. We've identified 7 critical nodes where the stabilizers need to be placed. Hit these points, and we create a defensive network that protects the entire crystalline layer. And the Dark Swarm? First Resonance asked. Their weapons are still formidable, even without the resonance technology. Sarah's expression hardened. That's where we show them another lesson Earth taught us. Predators aren't used to their prey fighting back. She nodded to Jackson, who brought up combat simulations. Their plasma weapons are advanced, but their tactics are predictable, Jackson explained. They've never faced an opponent who could survive their initial assault. We've analyzed their attack patterns. They leave gaps we can exploit. Dr. Santos stepped forward, her augmented eyes scanning medical data. I've modified our combat stims to help the deployment teams handle the extreme conditions. Combined with the new suits, they should be able to operate at depths that would crush unprotected ships. The plan is risky, Maya admitted. We'll be pushing our technology to its limits. But every piece of equipment we're using was born from Earth's challenges. The pressure suits, developed for deep-sea mining. The hull reinforcement, volcanic vent exploration. The counter-resonance tech, earthquake prevention. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had driven humanity to survive every catastrophe Earth had thrown at them. We're not just fighting for the luminary, she said. We're fighting to show the galaxy that evolution on a death world didn't make us monsters. It made us protectors. First Resonance's crystalline form shimmered with complex emotions. Your species, you face conditions that would kill most life forms, yet you speak of them as learning experiences. You treat obstacles that would stop entire civilizations as mere challenges to overcome. That's the thing about growing up on Earth, Maya replied with a grin. You either learn to adapt or you don't survive. We learn to adapt really, really well. Sarah studied the deployment plans one final time. Everything hinged on precision timing and humanity's unique ability to operate in conditions other species found impossible. Begin final preparations, she ordered. We launch in 6 hours. As her crew dispersed to their stations, Sarah reflected on the irony. The very conditions that had made Earth a death world had prepared humanity perfectly for this moment. The Dark Swarm were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous species weren't the ones evolved for killing, but the ones evolved to survive anything. The crystalline crust of Crystallos loomed before the UES Dauntless, its structure refracting the light of the binary stars into breathtaking patterns. But there was no time to admire the view. The Dark Swarm fleet had been detected at the system's edge. Their arrival was imminent. Final system check, Captain Chen commanded from the bridge. All teams report. Engineering ready. Maya's voice came through clear despite the intense pressure already building against the hull. Metamaterial reinforcement at full strength, the old girls holding together beautifully. Medical standing by, Dr. Santos reported from her station. Combat stims distributed to all deployment teams. Pressure adaptation protocols active. Tactical prepared, Jackson added. Harmonic stabilizers primed and ready for deployment. Defense systems online. Sarah watched as her crew made their final preparations. Each of them had volunteered for this mission, knowing full well the risks. But that was humanity for you. always willing to push the limits of the possible. First resonance, Sarah called to their luminary guest, who hovered in a pressure chamber near the bridge. Your people are ready. The crystalline being pulsed with affirmation. Our cities are prepared to receive the stabilizers. Though I must admit, many still doubt this plan can succeed. Incoming. Rivera's enhanced eyes caught the first signs of the Dark Swarm's arrival. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Energy signatures matched previous encounters, but bigger. The void erupted with the arrival of the Dark Swarm fleet. Their ships, dark and angular, moved with predatory grace. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Primitive vessels. A harsh voice grated through the translators. Your interference is noted. Remove yourselves from our harvest, or be destroyed with the crystal dwellers. Sarah's response was pure Earth diplomacy. Launch deployment teams. The Dauntless's Special Operations Bay opened, releasing 3 shuttles modified with the same metamaterial technology as their pressure suits. Each carried a team of humans trained in the harshest environments Earth had to offer. Team 1, beginning descent. Maya's voice came through as she piloted the lead shuttle. Pressure increasing. Hull integrity holding steady, just like the Challenger deep simulations. The Dark Swarm ships reacted with visible confusion as the human vessels dove straight into conditions their sensors must have been screaming were unsurvivable. Their formation broke slightly, the first crack in their predatory confidence. They're launching resonance weapons, Rivera reported. Energy buildup massive. They're trying to shatter the entire crystal layer. The crystal structure around them began to vibrate. Through the view screens, they could see the luminary cities trembling under the assault. But Maya's voice remained steady, reaching first deployment point. These readings are wild. Pressure would crush an unprotected ship to atoms. Good thing we're not unprotected. Deploying Stabilizer 1. Enemy vessels adapting, Jackson called out. They're moving to intercept the shuttles. Apparently, they don't like being ignored. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Show them why that's a mistake. All batteries, open fire. Target the gaps in their formation. The Dauntless's gun spoke, launching projectiles at velocities that turned simple metal slugs into devastating weapons. The Dark Swarm's elegant energy shields, designed to stop plasma weapons and energy beams, proved far less effective against good old-fashioned kinetic impacts. Stabilizer 1 online, Maya reported, moving to second position. These crystal layers, they're actually helping us. The pressure patterns are similar to deep ocean currents. Team 2, deploying Stabilizer 3, another voice called, had worse conditions during the Olympus Mons climb. The Dark Swarm ships began to fire desperately at the human vessels, their plasma weapons splashing harmlessly against hulls designed to withstand pressures that would implode most spacecraft. They simply couldn't comprehend how their prey could not only survive, but operate effectively in such conditions. 5 stabilizers deployed, Rivera announced. Harmonic network at 70%. It's working. The crystal layers are stabilizing. But the Dark Swarm had one last card to play. Their flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed its companions, began to power up what looked like a supercharged version of their resonance weapon. Energy spike. Rivera's warning came just as the weapon fired. A visible wave of force rippled through the crystal layer, threatening to shatter everything in its path. Maya. Sarah called out. Get clear of that wave. Negative, Captain. Maya's voice was strained but determined. We're too close to abort. Besides, she added with what Sarah knew would be her characteristic grin. This is what we trained for. Deploying final stabilizers now. The wave hit just as the last stabilizers came online. For a moment, it seemed like the entire world held its breath. Then something remarkable happened. The harmonic network activated, catching the resonance wave and turning it back on itself. The crystal layer not only held, it began to glow with an inner strength, the stabilizers using the Dark Swarm's own weapon to reinforce the very structures they were trying to destroy. Harmonic network at full power, Rivera reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor, crystal layer integrity improving. The system, it's working better than we predicted. Through the view screens, they watched as the Dark Swarm fleet reeled in confusion. Their ultimate weapon had not only failed, it had made their target stronger. The predators had suddenly become prey. Your vessel designs are impressive, First Resonance observed, their crystalline form pulsing with what the translators interpreted as awe. But more impressive is your ability to turn deadly conditions into advantages. Sarah watched as Maya's shuttle rejoined the Dauntless, her friend's voice tired but triumphant. "That's humanity's gift to the galaxy," she said quietly. "We don't just survive the impossible. We learn from it, adapt to it, and use it to protect others." The Dark Swarm fleet, their invincible reputation shattered along with their weapons' effectiveness, began to retreat. They had come expecting easy prey and found instead a species that thrived in conditions they had thought impossible to survive. 3 weeks after the battle at Christos, the UES Dauntless hosted an unprecedented gathering. The ship's largest cargo bay had been converted into a conference space, with specialized environmental chambers accommodating delegates from 20 different species. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the center, surrounded by her crew and their luminary allies. "The harmonic stabilizer network isn't just holding," Maya reported, displaying the latest data from Christos. "It's actually strengthening the crystal layers. The luminary cities are more secure now than they've been in their recorded history." First Resonance's crystalline form shimmered with joy. "Your primitive solution, based on your experiences with Earth's geological forces, has given us protection we never thought possible. The Dark Swarm's greatest weapon is now useless against us." "More than useless," Rivera added, his enhanced eyes scanning incoming reports. 3 other civilizations have already requested human assistance in implementing similar defensive systems. The predators are becoming the hunted. A delegate from the Galactic Council, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, floated forward. "We must admit, we were wrong about humanity. When we first discovered your species, we saw only the violence of your evolution. A species forged in what we considered impossible conditions. We called Earth a death world and feared what it had created." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. They'd all heard the whispers, the fears, the assumptions other species made about humans. "What we failed to understand," the delegate continued, "was that surviving the death world didn't make you monsters. It made you uniquely qualified to be protectors." Dr. Santos stepped forward, her augmented eyes gleaming. "Earth taught us that survival isn't just about being the strongest or the most aggressive. It's about adaptation, innovation, and most importantly, cooperation. Every natural disaster, every environmental challenge, pushed us to work together and find solutions. Your species treats conditions that would kill most life forms as mere inconveniences," Deep Harmony observed. "Pressures that crush ships become opportunities for innovation. Radiation that burns becomes a challenge to overcome. Even now, your crew speaks of diving into gas giants as if discussing a pleasant swim." Maya laughed. "Well, compared to some of Earth's deep ocean trenches, gas giants aren't so bad. At least you can see what's trying to kill you. That's what makes humans different." First Resonance pulsed thoughtfully. "Where others see impossible conditions, you see problems to be solved. Where others retreat from hostile environments, you learn to thrive in them." Lieutenant Commander Jackson brought up a tactical display showing the latest intelligence on the Dark Swarm. "They're retreating from multiple sectors. Turns out predators are less confident when their prey can fight back, especially when that prey has friends who evolved in conditions they can't even survive. The galaxy is changing," the Council delegate observed. "For millennia, we advanced by avoiding hostile conditions, seeking paths of least resistance. But in doing so, we became vulnerable to species like the Dark Swarm, who turned our own technology against us." Sarah nodded. "Earth never gave us the luxury of avoiding hostile conditions. We had to learn to face them, understand them, and overcome them. Now we can share those lessons with others. Which brings us to the purpose of this gathering. The delegate announced. The Council proposes the creation of a new initiative, the Deathworld Defense Force, a collaborative effort combining humanity's unique capabilities with the advanced technology of other species. First Resonance's crystalline form pulsed with enthusiasm. Already, we are adapting human pressure suit designs to allow our own people to explore depths of our world we never thought possible. Imagine what we could achieve together. That's the real legacy of being Deathworlders, Maya said, looking around at the gathered delegates. Not that we learn to survive anything, but that we can teach others to do the same. Every hostile environment becomes a classroom, every impossible condition an opportunity to grow stronger. Sarah stepped forward. Humanity accepts the Council's proposal. We evolved on a world that never stopped trying to kill us, but that just taught us the most important lesson of all. Survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about adapting, innovating, and most importantly, helping others do the same. The cargo bay filled with the various sounds and signs of approval from the assembled delegates. Species that had once feared the humans from Earth now saw them in a new light, not as dangerous aberrations, but as guardians forged in the fires of evolution to help protect the galaxy. As the gathering concluded and the delegates began to disperse, First Resonance approached Sarah one final time. You know, Captain, when we first learned about Earth, we couldn't understand how any species could evolve in such conditions. Now we understand. You needed to become strong enough to help others. Every challenge your world presented wasn't a curse, but preparation for this role. Sarah smiled, thinking of all the harsh lessons Earth had taught humanity, lessons that had prepared them perfectly for life among the stars. We didn't set out to become the galaxy's protectors. We just learned, through millions of years of evolution on our beautiful, terrible world, that the best way to survive is to help others survive too. Outside the Dauntless's viewports, the crystal layers of Christos shimmered with renewed strength, a testament to what could be achieved when the harsh lessons of a death world were turned toward protection rather than destruction. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their ability to survive anything. It was their determination to help others do the same.